This is the Old Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. Welcome to the jungle.
All right. Welcome to the Old Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. This is episode 27. Today, we are on location here at TXBBA in Fort Worth. It's a place that Jason and I train frequently.
Second home.
Yeah, second home. All right, you're down in Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Today's podcast is exciting, right? Because I can officially say that the podcast is sponsored and promoted by and fueled by Fully Promoted. So my wife and I just took over as owners of Fully Promoted here in Fort Worth.
Oh, congrats.
This is our first week in business.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, man. So Fully Promoted, we do branded apparel, promotional products, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
My wife's been working there for about a year, and we got the opportunity to buy into the business, and so we are part owners with Master Badur and Master Pahanish.
Okay.
So that's our new venture that we're on. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, anyway, I can help. I'm a creative. Just I don't know if you know or not. So I dabble in any and everything. I just like to let my mind just go free. So anyway, I can help. Some graphics, anything, man. I'm at your service, bro.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. So you do graphic design as well?
Unofficial, yes.
Unofficial, okay.
Unofficial.
So
yes.
You dabble on the side.
Yeah.
So what kind of software do you use to do any of that stuff?
I mess around with that. I mess around with Midjourney, Canva, kind of things like that. And then I also I'll sketch too. Like I draw with my hands as well. So
nice.
Just a little bit of everything. I just get into everything.
Yeah, I knew nothing about graphic design or anything like that. But here recently, when I started putting the podcast out on YouTube, thumbnails are a big thing in YouTube. And I was talking to Donnie about it. He's real big. He uses Canva a lot. Yeah. And so I started using Canva and designing thumbnails. It looks it's okay. I mean, it gets the job done. It gets the job done. So I've been messing around with that some. So it's been kind of interesting to see how that whole process goes together. Because I guess, you may know more than this about this than I do, but a thumbnail is very valuable for like YouTube and things like that.
Yeah, just understanding the platforms and how just using certain platforms to even then feed into another platform. So it's still new to me. Also, the birth of AI too. AI is really big. Like the technology and things that are going out there. Like people are essentially designing movies using AI. Just individuals just out there, just putting things out, and it's crazy. Like what used to take. Like I was talking to my son. When I was back in school, I loved just creating, and I created a game. But how much that time that took to do a storyboard, create the characters, draw the characters. Yeah. All that now, you can do that with AI in a day with, maybe an hour at a time if you just really sit down and focus on it. And it's just it's crazy what's out there and available. And this is just now and stuff that's even going now. So it's
incredible.
It's
Yeah, ChatGPT, I've used it a few times. I remember when it came out a couple years ago, and I have a regular job that I do. I don't just do podcasts and do jiu-jitsu, which most people probably think I do because that's I'm always up here at the school and I'm always talking about jiu-jitsu. But I was just kind of curious to see, how much ChatGPT already knew, right? And this was when it first came out. It was like ChatGPT 1 or 2 or something like that. And it was just kind of getting some momentum. And I'd heard about it on some podcasts. And so I typed in some questions about my job in particular. And I talked to doctors about medical stuff. Okay. And so I just put a prompt in just to see what it did. And what it brought up, I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Man. It knew all of the things that I talk about, plus some, and some of the intricacies. And I was like, this is kind of scary. Yeah. It makes you wonder, what's going to be obsolete in the near future.
Yeah. It does, ask for what's out there now. And, yeah, it does make you pause just for a second. You're like, oh wait, hold on. But yeah, it's oh my goodness, it's fascinating and it's also frightful at the same time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm a little bit more devious than you when using ChatGPT. Like when it came out, I was like, okay, let me see. So I was like, all right, so let me pull out the last 6 winning lotto numbers and have it give me an algorithm of probability of what numbers. I was like, that was me messing around with it. But It is. It's amazing though. It is. It's absolutely amazing. Like, it's just like the speed of which things can come out now. It's like, oh wow, you can barely even keep up with what is now coming out just as of today. And then what's the new technology for tomorrow? So it's
exactly. Well, you left us with a cliffhanger, so you let it pick your lottery number. So what happened? Did you win?
Oh no, it because it's like, all right, so everything, from big perspective, everything is CYA. So it's like I can't give you those numbers, but if you ask the right questions and work around it, you can kind of massage it to
Yeah.
So it's just more so like, all right, so with this list of numbers, what is the probability or what pattern are you seeing of possible numbers, and then it gives you an idea. Then you kind of you pick it and play from there, but it's still nothing.
You still got nothing?
I'm still not in Fiji right now, so you see, I haven't won yet. So
ChatGPT didn't get you rich.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. So I was looking at some artwork too. I just messing around just in the last couple weeks of my son. He plays Fortnite. He's 11, and he's like, "Oh, I want to see what it would look like if Jocko Willink was a Fortnite character." I was like, "Well, let's check it out. Let's put it in ChatGPT," and it rendered a photo, or not a photo, a picture or image of Jocko as a Fortnite character. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And then he said, "Oh, I want to see what I look like as a Fortnite character." So we put a picture of him in ChatGPT, and it made him a Fortnite character, which turned out awesome as well. So it's like the amount of possibilities and creativity that it comes out of that in just a heartbeat. I mean, it's like 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's crazy.
Yep. Terminator, the future is here. Skynet is here.
Skynet is here. Yeah, I heard that was the other thing I saw this past week was that Skynet was going to become self-aware like this past weekend, like the 29th, I think, of last week.
Oh,
did you hear about that?
So it's going sentient.
Yeah. I was like, what does that mean? What in the world does that mean?
Oh man. It means I need to start building my bunker shelter on an island somewhere. That's what. No, I'm playing. I'm totally playing.
Or you're playing, but you're not playing.
I'm playing, but I'm not. No, I guess and I'm still kind of, I guess, novel at that. As for the technology and it being sentient, but it's aware that it's, I guess, existing.
Mm-hmm.
That it is, it's existing. It's thinking as we are. Like we're aware that we're thinking, where we can affect our environment, things like that. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, I don't.
Yeah, man. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So do you use? So I re-listened to the podcast of you and your wife Tiffany with Professor Bador on the Biz Life podcast.
Hey, love.
And so I found out that you're in real estate,
yes,
right?
Sir.
You do real estate investing. You flip houses and things
yes,
like
sir.
that. Have you used ChatGPT or any AI to kind of help you with your search for different homes, or how to stage homes and things like that, or
No, I do know that some people dabble with it as for lead generation. I haven't been able to find anything consistent for me other than it drafting letters. Mm-hmm. Depends on your target market, what you're looking for, what type of properties that you're looking for. That's about it. Other than it's really us kind of driving the seat, and then we're using it as an assistant. It's like a really, in my perspective, it's a genius assistant that you have.
Okay.
So if I need to draft letters or I need to do marketing, I can come back, massage a little bit, clean it, and then put it out.
Yeah.
I have done it for marketing for properties. I can't say that I've got anything definitively from it, but it does help with some of those things where something that would take you 30, 40 minutes just to think and then write it down. It's like, boom.
Yeah.
To give it its parameters and whatever, and, get it. And then, use it as you need it. I did. So we have the ability to pull anything, foreclosures, probates. It was something that's scary. Like, there's lists that are out there for interest for people that are into golf. There's a list out there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure for people that are into jiu-jitsu, there's a list out there.
Sure.
It's just crazy. But you can, market strategically to those groups of people.
Yeah.
And their interests. But I've used it for, how did I do it? I had a list of what we call non-occupying residents in a sense, like people that own a lot of rentals and things like that. Because sometimes they just like, I'm tired of this one.
Yeah.
And that's an opportunity for us where we can go buy a house. It may not be in the best condition, fix it up, and then sell it.
Yeah.
And I used it to kind of analyze and look at the most probable people of selling properties, or it could go through and see people that have multiple properties that have maybe sold in the last 2 to 3 years or something like that. So you kind of get some kind of a pattern.
Sure.
So things like that. But
Yeah.
it's still, because it's such a new technology, there's so many things that are coming out. Like, so
Yeah.
I just try to, as much as I can, stay on top of it, along with still being in the business and still being a dad and still being, so it's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
when I can, like, and then it's like, all right, get 10 minutes of sleep. So,
Yeah.
so
So with your real estate business, right? So you're an entrepreneur. You and your wife are entrepreneurs together in real estate. What exactly are you doing in that space? I listened to a little bit of it and just wanted to hear from you what that looks like.
we are, for us, we are a nonstop shop. Like we do everything in real estate.
Okay.
It's just we've kind of just grown in each sector. Started off as being just a traditional agent, as for representing a buyer or a seller.
Sure.
And in the midst of that, we started working with investors. What started was I was looking for, it's like, okay, as a real estate agent, you're always looking for having more business coming in. So for me, the light bulb was like, well, investors are constantly buying properties and looking for properties. You just need to understand what it is they're looking for. So we went to an investor meetup and met a few investors, and there's all kinds of people: investors, contractors, just lenders, vendors with flooring. Everybody was there. So it was just a big networking group. And it was just like, okay, cool. So we started working with an investor, and we started to really realize that, like, man, we really know a lot more than what we think we know. Like, casing, I'm in the process of writing a book, but example that I met this investor, we started talking and working, and I found a property in Arlington. I was like, hey, I really think this is a really good, I think this is a good opportunity. Like, you need to look at this. So we met out there. When we met out there, I brought the contractor that I met from another client that was working on a HUD home. I brought the contractor, brought him to the property, and while we were walking through the property, me and my wife was like, okay, we would move this wall, put this flooring in, and do this, and he's just like, and the light bulb popped for us is like, we really have more ideas and know how to do this. Also, with our experience of working with clients, we know what buyers are looking for. We know what levers that they're like, what really is like, okay, they really like this. We're starting to see the trends. And that really what kind of propelled us to go more so on the investing side. And then now being, since 2018, investing, now currently we've even seen more, because there's different strategies in investing. There's, of course, your flips and your fix and flips. There's long-term holds. Then there's seller financing. There's also when you start to get into multifamily and you're looking at the long play. So there's so many avenues. Just it's like jiu-jitsu. It's like, all right, I got this belt, and now it unlocks all this other new things, and it's like I got that. So it's the same.
Yeah, yeah. So are you guys just in the Cleveland area, or are you all over DFW?
We are all over Texas.
All over Texas.
We are all over Texas.
Okay.
Now, of course, because we're in the immediate DFW area, and it takes a lot when you drive into a project. So a lot of our fix and flips have been in DFW, and a lot of our clients are in DFW. But we have done in Austin, in Houston, in Tyler in East Texas. We've been up far north as Blue Mound, Providence Village, Frisco, Prosper, everywhere. We're licensed for Texas, so we play all of it in Texas.
Wow. So how many do you have investment properties currently?
I do. I have one currently. It's in Keller, and that one's it's a property we renovated, and it's active and is looking for a new family.
If you're listening, and you're in the Keller area.
The address is 9164 Holly Drive in Fort Worth. Keller ISD, beautiful. It's part of the HOA. I think there's 5 swimming pools in the HOA.
Oh, wow. It's a big neighborhood then.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Walking trails, parks, everything, fitness center, everything.
Wow.
But that's it currently. We've been blessed. This year we sold 4 or 5 of our properties this year within the first 2 quarters of this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
pretty
it's
good.
just been rocking. But as in real estate, man, it's like this.
It's
Like
up and down.
Like there could be some months, man, you could be like, yeah, I sold, $1 million or $2 million worth of inventory or whatever. And then the next 2-3 months, you're just like drought
Yeah.
on your thumbs. And it's, it's still part of it. So.
And so is the market picking up right now, with, this being an election year, and I think I heard about the interest rates are dropping and all that type of stuff. So compared to previous years, do you feel like this year's been a better year?
Honestly, it's been slower this year. The interest rate, so rewinding back to when the Fed first did the first big interest rate hike, we did a property down in Houston. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you an example. That hike cost us about $15,000-$16,000 in profit. Ooh. That hike.
Gosh.
Just because it spooked the buyers. You got to think, buyers most people, when they go out and buy a house, they have a set budget. And when those interest rates go up, well, your payments go up as well. So it spooked a lot of the buyers too, because a lot of people are like, well, can I afford it? And so it did. You've seen like the ripple effects. You've seen the initial shock, and then you've seen the ripple effect, and it slowed down the market. And the fact that they've been increasing, the rates up until current, it really did. You got to think affordability, how much food costs, how much fuel was costing, the cost of homes, plus now the interest rates. A lot of people were like,
yeah.
So we are seeing a little bit more activity, but it depends on the price point too.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot more activity probably from, let's say, 350 down. Okay. It's still kind of steady. And then anything up to, especially in that where we are, close to that 600K mark, it's a little bit slower, like the house.
Yeah.
It really has to check all the buttons for a buyer.
Yeah.
And then anything $1 million, let's say $1 million up.
Yeah.
Moving fast. Depending on the area and what's going on, it's still moving fast.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy to say that 350 and down is kind of like the starter home, lower middle class kind of. Yeah. And it's crazy to say that 350,000 is that's where that is, but that's where we are as an economy, and as a country and financially and fiscally. I mean, it's really tough for these people that are coming into adulthood and getting their first families and everything to buy a house right now. It's crazy.
The millennials, like, we talk about it all the time, because like when we bought our first house, we paid, I want to say $132 for a brand new 1,500, plus square foot house. I mean, all the appliances, the builder gave us everything. Yeah. And, fast forward, that same house now, depending on in that area, is at 370, 380. Yep. So, we were affording that. We were working corporate America then, and it was still 2 incomes. And it was like, we were working, we had some savings, Yeah. But now it's like, how do you do that? Especially coming out of college, you're not making much. And it's just like, we talk about all the time with our boys, like, what is it? And this is just current. And what is it going to look like in another 10 years when they're really walking into their adulthood? So it's just, it's a lot of things we're just like, we need to reassess some things.
Yeah, so. I think, and I talk to my buddies about this all the time. It's like right now where we are as a society in the United States, it's the era of the side hustle. If you don't have if you're a man that has a regular job and you don't have a side hustle, you need to get a side hustle. You got to bring in an extra stream of income somehow. If it's power washing driveways or washing windows or something. And when I say side hustle, I'm not talking about going to get a job with somebody else. Work for yourself, right? Being a little bit of an entrepreneur, getting outside of your comfort zone and going and do something with your hands to earn extra money. Because you have your earning potential is way higher. If you're doing a side hustle like that, make a small investment in a power washer for $350, and you'll pay that back in a week if you go out and start hustling. Yeah. I mean, it's just, if you're going to afford a house, and take care of a family these days, you kind of got to have a side hustle. Yeah,
you really do. And there's so many opportunities. It's just really sitting down and thinking and strategizing, but there's a lot of opportunities that are out there. But it's very true. You can't just one get income. It's not going to do it.
No,
it's not.
No, not at all. So, speaking of that, being an entrepreneur, one thing that I've noticed, and I was talking to my wife, Jennifer, about this here recently, is that a lot of the guys that I do jiu-jitsu with and girls that I do jiu-jitsu with are entrepreneurs. And I was thinking, it's like, especially like a lot of the black belts that I know are entrepreneurs. They own an academy. They have a side job that they're working as an entrepreneur. You look at Professor Pahanus and Professor Bador, Selena also, entrepreneurs. You're an entrepreneur. I just got into the entrepreneur space, owning a business. What do you think it is with people who do jiu-jitsu being wired? It seems to be that they're wired to be entrepreneurs.
I don't know. I think it's that problem-solving gene. Because I can say that the correlation between jiu-jitsu and life is that, there's always going to be challenges. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be problems. But I think it's just, sitting down and being like, okay, all right, I can feel the pressure. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the end of me. Mm-hmm. Like figuring out and feeling, oh, there's the out.
Yep.
Oh, the weight's a little bit shifted over here. Oh, there's. So I think that those two kind of, they relate a lot in life. Like, it's like, okay, I don't have to accept life as this is the only avenue. It's like, no. And it's just like, let me see if I can shift and have it. Because it is crazy when me and my wife first decided to be like, all right, we're going to go into business for ourselves. That was new to us because we were both in such a corporate structure that, the gift and the curse was, I have all this free time and I set my schedule. And then it was like, holy crap, I have all this free time and I set my schedule because, you've been structured in such a way, but now you have to relearn yourself to structure yourself in a way. So I think it's just that problem solving gene. I really do.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, this isn't it. I can figure this out.
Yeah.
So.
I think you're right. You got jiu-jitsu is tough. Right. And the problem solving skills go along with that. Right. Like you were saying, you're on the bottom, right? You got somebody past your guard. Now you're in bottom side control. If you didn't know jiu-jitsu, you'd be like, oh man, I'm in a bad spot. I'm about to get murdered. Yeah. Right. But because some jiu-jitsu, some escapes, how to, reposition your body and get around to different areas. And I think it's, very similar with entrepreneurship is that it's tough. Entrepreneurship is not easy.
100%.
And, being acclimated because of the jiu-jitsu to be able to, find a new route or find a new escape or just bear through it until things change a little bit. Because sometimes if you just bear through that little uncomfortableness, that your opponent or your business is going to change a little bit and it's going to allow you to escape or, have a better footing and see a different perspective from where you were at before. And, that's what I've seen. This is my first time being a quote unquote entrepreneur, just in the last week or so, but I've done, independent contract work. And, I guess, I could say that's an entrepreneur type position where I was working for a hospital and doing different things, but, also being able to hustle. I think people who do jiu-jitsu just know how to hustle.
That's a survival technique. Like, it's just like, you got to get up and go get it. It is very much so. I think it goes down to like, especially like you were saying, like being in a bad position, and it's just like, no, we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight. We're gonna fight.
Yeah.
And just having that mindset about it. And sometimes it does just take that. It's just like, no, I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there have been many times when like after I would have a class and just have a rough roll, and it'd be like, it's like, oh, I was in a bad position, and all of a sudden now I'm in a dominant. Oh, I won the position or won situation, and the same thing in business and life. It's like, oh man, I'm in a bad position. Oh, nope. I was like, no, I came too far.
Yeah,
I got too much grit in me. Like,
yeah,
and sometimes it's like, no, there's a reason why I'm at where I am in my determination and my grit. Let's get to it.
Yeah.
So.
And then you're like 2 minutes into a round, and you're like, man, this is bad. And you look at the clock, and you got 3 minutes left. You're like, I'm good. I still got some fight. I got time.
Yeah.
So you're like me. You're a purple belt, right?
Yes, sir.
So how long have you been training?
Ooh, 3+ years.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll say 3.5 years.
3.5 years
of steady grinding. Yeah.
Okay. So you got promoted to purple belt pretty quick then.
Yeah, in a sense, in the duration of time, but there have been many episodes of me going 7 days a week. Just
sure.
just grinding. That's just my personality as well.
Yeah.
Just grinding. And then some days, doing 2 days a week of that 7 days, 2 days. 2 times of the 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So just grinding.
Yeah.
And just going for it. But I am a bit of an overachiever as well. So, I have no problem in saying that.
Yeah. I have a feeling your wife tells you that you do a lot.
Yeah, she's like, yeah. She's like, yeah. It's like, you think you think you're doing too much? I'm like, Nah.
Yeah, my wife tells me that same thing. She's like, man, you got so much going on. You're training all the time. You're doing all these things.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't change it for the world, man. She loves that I do jiu-jitsu. She loves that, I'm in here grinding it out and learning a new skill.
Yeah.
I've been going a little bit longer than you. I'm about 7.5 years in.
Okay.
I'm a purple belt. But here recently, I've been, five times a week I've been training. But I'm taking a break right now. I got some bruised up ribs, and I've been off for about a week and a half, and I'm going crazy.
I know.
I'm going nuts, man.
Yeah.
It's no good to not. I came the other night and did some the drilling, but I didn't roll. Well, I said I wasn't going to roll.
Yeah.
Ended up rolling a couple rounds, but
Yeah.
light.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, like, gauging your body, like the thing that I learned, because like you can go, every day, but that doesn't mean every day is a hard roll. Out of that, you probably have 2-3 hard rolls, 2-3 days of hard rolling, but it can be just one, understanding more of a technique, understanding the setup for the technique, and then understanding, how to cut off the escape for the technique, and just all those things of it as well. And it's just like, it's like when you go to the gym, like every day, it doesn't have to be a hard, heavy lifting. Like you shouldn't be, putting 225, 250 on everything. It's just like, all right, there's some stuff you can just do a bunch of reps of, and it's the same thing. And it's just like this, you should just do a bunch of reps of. And then some days it's like, all right, yeah, let's put some more plates on,
Yeah.
So in that way, just so the longevity, the balance of the body too, so that you can keep doing it. So
Yeah.
thank God I haven't had any crazy injuries. I had one messing around with my cousin. So
You weren't even on the mat.
No, I wasn't even on the mat. So I have a cousin that used to train combatives in the military.
Okay.
So he knows some things.
Yeah. Marines?
So, no, he's Army. He was Army, but
Army.
he used to be a guard. He did Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he was like one of the personal guards too. I'm not gonna say the general's name, but he would, we thought, especially when I got into jiu-jitsu, and he's like, oh, he's like, you're gonna be addicted to it. I'm like, no, just something to do. He's like, no, you're gonna be addicted to it. So he was right. And we were at my aunt's house, and he was like, let me see. And so I was messing with my nephew, and he was like, all right, let me see. So we were rolling. So this is when I was trying to do all my fancy moves. So
Yeah.
I tried to do it's the going from guard and choking him on the shin, like pulling the knee in front.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like,
Yeah.
oh. He's like, no. If you need to escape, what you
Oh, is
want
that
to do
the
is,
Barada Plata?
I believe it's I think it's a Tariqa Plata or Barada
Yeah,
Plata.
one of the two, yeah.
One of the platas. One of the
Plata.
But I was doing it, and he's like, oh, yeah, if you want to escape, you just got to push down on the knee. And he pushed down, and I heard in my knee. And I was like, and it didn't hurt, but I was like, I never heard my knee do that sound. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And I was like, we're good. So we kept rolling, tussling, and he had no conditioning, so I just rope-a-doped him. He was just tired. And then when we finished, I was like, all right. I was like, man, I got to go home and clean up. So I went home, showered, nothing.
Fine.
The next morning, I got out of bed. I couldn't pull my knee back. I was like, oh. It was just stuck like this.
Yeah.
So nursed that, and it had me down for a little bit. But I was like,
So you just strained it. You didn't blow out anything.
yeah. So I was like, yeah, no more fancy moves. No more. just control and back to the basics.
Yeah.
So,
It's funny you bring up fancy moves because, I've been reevaluating my game here lately, and I've tried to do a little fancy things here and there and all that kind of stuff. But I find myself now that I'm purple belt, I'm a year into purple belt, what I want to do is just pressure and then catch an Americana or catch a triangle or an arm bar, something super basic, rear naked choke,
Yeah.
Instead of trying to go for the crazy stuff that I was when I was a blue belt, I was going
Yeah.
for I was trying to get all kind of interested. I watch YouTube, Instagram. It's like, oh, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. And then a lot of times I would get in the middle of trying one of those fancy moves and then lose position and then have somebody on my back.
Yeah.
But so I feel like there's a natural progression as
Yeah.
the longer you're in jiu-jitsu, the less crazy you want to be. You just want to
Yeah.
pressure,
All that
simple
like,
move.
Yeah. Just yeah, exactly. That's it. It's like I'm gonna make you work. I'm gonna wait for the mistake, and we're done.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So do you have any higher ranks that you're training with down in Cleburne?
Master Moreno,
Yeah.
Master Moreno 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Brown belt.
Yeah, brown belt, and then his dad, black belt as well. And then we used to do the Friday morning, jam. Like we would Friday 5 a.m. So it was us along with
Professor Will.
Yeah, and that was, man. Shout out to Professor Will, man. I hope you get well soon too.
Yeah, he's got his injury, right?
Yeah.
Did I hear they tore a bicep tendon or
Yeah,
something?
it was official torn bicep. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, and I was just like, ugh. But man, his perspective on jiu-jitsu and how he brings a little bit of that wrestling background to it, like I loved it. Like I felt like an animal, and I could see it too whenever I would roll. Like you could, especially when I flip the switch on, you could tell like the difference. So.
So does Professor Will have a wrestling background?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he looks like a wrestler, but I never put that together that he has a wrestling
Yeah.
background.
I believe he did some collegiate wrestling. He'll have to confirm that. He can put it in the comments and confirm that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's far if I recall correctly, yes.
Okay.
But yeah, man, dude is a beast, an absolute beast.
And he is thick.
Yeah.
Muscle thick.
Yeah.
Golly.
I remember like my early days, like I think I was maybe a green belt, and I felt like so accomplished because I just reversed him, and that was the only thing, and he still smashed me the rest of the time. I was like, at least I got a reversal on it. But yeah, man, his perspective and the way that he goes about it, like I really dig it.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of a journeyman within the academy because I look at it, everyone's takes and how they approach it, and I guess what's their forte and things, and I take it, and I just trying to put another tool in my belt, kind of in the sense of like Batman. Like Batman had a tool for everything. So I just like to travel and just to be around their energy. Like what I appreciate about our academy is like we have, just genuinely good people.
Yeah.
And it's not a whole bunch of ego driven. And
100%.
it's just like, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna sharpen you, but I'm gonna help you as well.
Yep.
And then even off of the mat, like I can have relationship and be personable with them as well. And I was like, man, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And that's the same thing I've learned here too. It's like, you come in here and you train sometimes, you'll drop in, during the week. And so I've gotten to know you. And so there's so many good people, you know, and like you said, every now and then you have somebody run in that, that has an ego problem. Yeah. But for some reason, they don't stick around very long, do they?
Yeah. You get humbled real quick. I was one of those stories. I came here, I was like, yeah, I'm fitting whatever. Oh, okay, all right. Yes, sir.
You've got a good plan, like what Mike Tyson says.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And you come in here on the mat as a new person trying out jiu-jitsu. You got a plan. You think you can fight, and then you get humbled real quick by a 17-year-old kid that tied you in a knot.
Yeah.
It happens quick.
Yeah. And, some people because you can see it, like there'll be people, that'll come off of the street and it's like, let me see what it is, or I don't believe it or whatever. And then by the end of the night, they're converted. They come in, it's like, and at the end of the night, they're breathing heavy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And it's like, it's like, it's real. And I think, for me, on the practical side, I feel like every man should do it. One, because a lot of times you go into a situation and you're trying to assume just because of how someone looks. And in this, you can't assume. It could be a little scrawny, like you said, a little scrawny 14, 15-year-old kid that works you. And you be like, yeah, I can take it. Like, or it could be vice versa. You come in, and you don't look that good, and it's a guy 6'4", 280, and you give him the business, and it's just like that light bulb. But I feel like on the practical side, every man should do it because I think everyone needs that humility lesson to treat everyone fairly and openly. Yep. And then also on the general side that you can take care of yourself. Like I know that in any given situation, I'm victorious. I'm going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So with that said, have you ever had to use your jiu-jitsu in a situation?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, let's hear that, man. I've never used mine. I've come close to it. My spidey senses have kicked in where my hair stands up on the back of my neck when somebody's, but I don't know if it was just my the way I was standing, because when you do jiu-jitsu, you stand different.
Yeah.
I don't know if people notice that,
Yeah,
because you have this confidence. Yeah,
the energy is real. Like that aura, it's really noticeable. Like I've seen people, even when we have things and someone comes in and you can feel, I'm like, yeah, he has that glow. And then I'll talk about, who's this? Oh, that's Master blah blah blah. He's a 6th degree, blah blah. He's a 5th degree, and it's like, yeah, he has that presence.
The presence. Yeah, there you go.
But to answer your question, so this was 2 years ago, and what's crazy, it was on Friday the 13th. I'm dead serious. So my wife and I, of course, being in real estate, we get calls all the time, come look at this house. Yeah, I think this would be, so whatever. So I got a call from a rep, and at that time we were in Addison. He's like, hey, I got this house in Fort Worth off of Meadowbrook. Why don't you come check it out? I think it'll be a, good look for you guys. So I was all right. Send me some pictures, send me, just a, kind of just a brief preliminary of what's going on. And I was like, it looks cool because we love to do historic homes, and we're architecture nerds. So Craftsman, mid-century, all that is like, that's our thing. So this one was a Craftsman home off of Meadowbrook. Well, if you know Fort Worth and Meadowbrook, there's pockets where it's like, it's really, really nice, and then it's really, really rough. So we went, came down off of 820, exited, and was going down Meadowbrook, and I was like, it says we're close. We're like 6 minutes away, so I mean, we're close. We're in the vicinity. I was like, I don't know. Turned down. It was some, I'm just being quite honest. It was a D-class apartment building unit. D-class is like no security, no amenities, stuff may be working, just rough.
Yeah, like a lower income type place.
Yeah. So as an investor, we're really sensitive as to where a property lies, because I've seen houses before where houses look on the pictures, looks immaculate, looks beautiful, and then you go outside and there's an Astro van. Yeah. There's, and it's just like, no, this is not gonna work. Yeah. So I drove down the neighborhood and I was like, yeah, babe. I was like, I don't know about this. And she's like, no, let's just look at that. So we turned the street and the apartments are in view and the house is right there on the corner. I was just like, no. I was like, let's just go get some lunch. I'm done. We're here. Let's just go walk. I was like, all right, whatever. So we go out, we walk around the house. We're, checking everything out. And then the rep comes 5-10 minutes later and he's like, yeah, the brother-in-law is in the house. I'm like, well, you should have told me. I don't ever just walk around a property unless if it's vacant, then, but I don't want to freak people out either.
Sure, yeah.
So he knocks on the door and the dude is sloshed. Like, no way. He opens the door, you got the key? And he's like, hey, we're here to look at the property. Yeah, but you got the key. And he's like, no, we're here to look at the property. Like, so he opens the door. And the rep walks in, and then Tiff walks in behind the rep, and the guy, like, just boom, and almost knocks her over. I'm like, hey, buddy. I'm like, hey, calm down a little bit. We're good. And he's all in her face. Do I know you? I was like, hey, man, just calm down. So the rep kind of pulls him to the side, and he talks to him. And I was like, that's weird. But I was like, at that time, it's like, okay, something's going on. Something's stirring up.
You can feel it.
So the rep goes and takes him, like, the house is like, if we walk into the front door, it's the living room, and then it's, if you look further back behind, it goes into the kitchen, transition to the kitchen. And then there's a hallway here, and it goes to the other rooms, like a room, bathroom, room. Yeah. And he takes him around this way, and he's talking to him. And we started to go to the kitchen, but we can't because the floor is open. Like, you can, the floor was ripped open, probably about a 4-foot by 8-foot hole. And looking down at it, it's just water. It's a lake. So I was like, all right, we got plumbing issues. Damn. I already know we got foundation issues. And I'm like, we're at like, just thinking at it, I'm like, we're already at like 30, 40K just with these things. Yeah. Before we start to then address the aesthetics. I don't know about the roof. The garage in the back is falling over. I'm like, we're paying for this house. Like, no. It's like, let's walk over here. So I'll make it short. The rep takes him around there. He started making noise. He's throwing stuff.
What?
Yeah, he's like, I don't know what he's doing. And I told her, I was like, hey, I'm cool. As long as he's cool, I'm cool.
Yeah.
He doesn't bother anybody, I'm cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just need you to stay close to me because I was like, I just don't like the situation. As a sidebar, my wife and I, we both have our CHLs, and usually we are carrying.
Yeah.
At this time, we both were carrying. And we go out, and he's making all this noise. I was like, let's go outside, let him breathe for a second. I don't know what's going on with him. We go outside, and then we look at the garage, and I was like, we're done. I'm like, let's just go home. She's like, no, let's just. I said, okay. So we go back in. She's like, I'm just going to measure this room, and we're going to go. And she goes. She starts to turn. We come into the back door. She starts to turn this way. The guy comes around with a hammer in his left hand.
What?
Grabs her phone, and has the hammer.
What?
And probably from me to the punching dummy,
Yeah.
I grab in. I have this hand, and I'm grabbing like, hey man, just calm down. And at that time,
Was he about to swing on your wife?
I don't know. I wasn't going to take that time
Yeah.
because he was
Yeah.
making noise and doing whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And the fact that he grabbed her, I'm like, don't touch the queen.
Yeah.
That's
no
just
doubt.
my thing. Like, you
Dang.
know, family, anybody like that, like we can talk, but at that time I just held him. I was like, hey, just, you know, calm
Yeah.
down. Can you let the hammer go? Get off me. I was like, can you please I was like, I'll let you go. Just, can you drop this and we're good.
Yeah.
So he tried to muscle me, and I was like, bro, don't. So shifted, judo, we hit the floor, boom, in his chest. Balatudo and grabbed his right arm, had him here, and I had the hammer, and I'm in his chest, S-mounted. I'm like, hey, can you let go of the hammer? Can you calm down? And he's trying to, I'm like, dude, just calm down. I was like, I'm calm. You need to be calm. And I'm not going to say it, but I was like, you can calm down or I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And then he let the hammer go. The rep
Yeah.
came over and grabbed the hammer. And then at that time, same hat I have on, it fell over in the hole. And I was like, hey, love, can you go get my hat for me? And I'm just more mad that I had to even had to be here at this point.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, the entire time, I'm tucked right
Yeah.
here. And I'm just like, dude. So he finally, you know, got my hat. And I was like, can you, both of y'all go out the front door? Because I was like, if anything happens, I can take care of this. Y'all just get out. I want to make sure y'all good. So they got out. And then I was like, are we good? We calm now? We good? And he just sat there. And I was like, I'm going to get up. Don't do anything silly. Got up, and I was like, man, I hope your day goes better than this, and then left out.
Dang.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is really necessary.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's
But
awesome.
I can say in the midst of that, like how fast it happened from the time, because, you know, if you're not trained in that situation, you freak out.
Yeah.
And I didn't freak out. It was the entire time just like, you know, and then when he tried to get aggressive, then I was like, I'm going to return the aggression.
Yeah.
And then that's when, you know, but how fast it happened and how fast it was in control, I'm like, okay, yeah, thank you, Blue Belt at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Man, that's all. How big was this guy?
he was, I would say, because I'm 5'10", 5'11", I would say probably about 5'8". Probably he wasn't too athletic build, so I would probably put him about maybe 170, 180.
Yeah. Big dude.
Yeah, he would make you pause for concern. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But it was just like,
Gosh.
dude, yeah. So I was more concerned. Like the entire time, the only thing I was thinking about was making sure my wife was okay, because in that moment you have a weapon.
Yeah.
So she could have been concussed. He could have used the claw side of it, and you know, and it's just like, you know, and the fact that he had did all the other stuff while we were out and was throwing stuff and everything. I was like, I don't know what you got going on, and I'm not here as a threat, but if it goes down, it goes down.
Yo.
So
Dang. So was the other rep that was with you, was he like, dang, man, I got to start training?
Yeah, he did, because she was like, and it was crazy. My wife was so calm. Like, if you even thought this was just like a Tuesday, she was just like, he does this all the time. And the rep was like, he's freaking out, and he's like, and he's like, can I send you a basket? Can I send you? I was like, man, we're good. I was like, as long as everybody's, we're good. Nobody got really, really hurt, anything like that. I was like, we're good. But and she was like, yeah, he's a blue belt. He does it all the time. He's like, he looks like a black belt to me. I was like, no. It's like, it's just, you know, especially in that moment, you're heightened, your senses are already heightened, and we're trained to react and move quickly anyways. And it's just like,
Well, that's a good example too, man, of being prepared. I mean, what if you hadn't been there, right? And your wife was with this guy, walking in that's not trained. She's got her pistol, right?
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse. I mean,
Yeah.
if she's trained to use her handgun and that came on,
Yeah.
and you weren't there, I mean, somebody could have been dead.
Yeah,
you know,
and
but
that's another thing too, because especially when you go get your CHL, you understand the rules of engagement, that even though you could be in the right, you still have to prove that you were in the right. You still have to go through that legal process, and on top of that, in a technical sense, this person was given authority to be here.
Yep.
We weren't.
Yeah.
So there's so many other variables that you go down. And for me, like I was talking to a friend of mine, because he's like, that jiu-jitsu stuff. He's like, man, I got a clip. And I was like, well, yeah, but I was like, at least for me, I can prove that it was self-defense, in the situation.
Yep.
It's like, it's a little different. And then on top of that, I'm not one of those that I want to take a life either.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just,
Well, and that's the thing, I have my CHL as well, and I carry a lot. But if I pull that gun, right, if I unholster that weapon, I'm not just unholstering it to show it off.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and this is what I talked to, there's a guy we train here with here. His name is Myrick, and he's real big into firearms and firearm safety and training and church security. We talked about it on the podcast a few weeks ago, but, you're not just brandishing a weapon. If you brandish that weapon, if you're showing that weapon, you're going to be pulling the trigger more than likely, right? And you got to be ready, because if you do that, you're going to take a life. More than likely, you're going to take a life, if not seriously injure somebody.
Yeah.
And so what do you have as a backup? What do you have as another option? What do you have that's a less lethal option, right? And jiu-jitsu is a good thing to have, right?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. You guys were in a bad situation where it would easily – this guy was threatening your life. He had a hammer, right? You could have easily pulled your gun and shot the guy because he was attacking your wife, but instead you used jiu-jitsu. You stayed safe. He stayed safe, and everybody walked away, and nobody was dead, and there was no ambulance.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's one important thing to say, and it's something I'm real passionate about too, is like you said a minute ago, if you're a man, if you're a woman, you get on the mat. Learn some basic self-defense.
Yeah.
Sel Bador, she does a women's jiu-jitsu class here every Monday and Wednesday now. It's started, and I think it needs to be a full class.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be training. You need to at least know some basic skills, right? Because what you did wasn't anything extravagant. Like we're talking about, there's fancy things that you can do in jiu-jitsu, but you did a basic takedown. You got him in mount, and you had his arm, and he wasn't going to hurt anybody. And I think it's important for everybody to know is like, just get the basics. Come once a week. Learn a little bit of jiu-jitsu so you can protect yourself, protect your spouse, protect your kids. I mean, it's so important. Man, good on you, man. That's awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah. Master Pahanis called me the hammer.
The hammer?
Because, my wife, she told him, but she didn't give him all the details. He's like, I got to get all the details. So I told him.
Yeah.
He's like, that's a good name for you, the hammer.
The hammer.
I was like, no, sir.
The hammer stopper. How about that?
I was like, no, sir. It's just, instinct, and then just caring for people.
Yep.
And that's the thing. But I do appreciate it because for what they teach here, those things, one, the big, that fight or flight condition, and then a lot of people don't understand like that adrenaline dump too when things happen. That's usually when people freak out and stuff happens so fast that they can't even remember or recall all the details. Yep. And I can say that the training that we have here, it's just like, it's what we do. It's like, yeah, that's the 8 o'clock class. Yeah. It's like, it's nothing new.
Exactly. So with that said, as far as you have a wife and 2 kids, right? 2 boys, right?
Yes, sir.
So do they train at all?
My wife used to do kickboxing. Okay. Actually, her kicks, man, she would knock your head off. Like she's business, man. She's business. She does kickboxing. She's been getting back into it. And then my boys, my youngest actually is a black and red belt. So he's on his way to being a black belt. He's 2 belts away, belt away from being a black belt.
In karate?
In karate, yes.
Okay.
And then my oldest is a brown belt. And I've been trying to kind of push him along to get into it, especially because he's getting into the high school age. Yeah. And he knows how to take care of himself. But I was like, I want you to understand this other aspect of it as well. Yeah. But yeah, we all do. We're a quote unquote martial arts family.
Yeah. So how old are your boys?
9 and 13.
No, okay. So
Yeah.
similar to mine. So I have a 11-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Okay.
So, and it's interesting, man, because
Yeah.
they trained with me here with
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. You've met them
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're great kids. And yeah, I'm so glad, I'm grateful that I have that intersection with them, to spend that time with them and build that bond. It's really cool.
Yeah. My youngest he's my caveman. Like, he wants to come to, the adult class. I'm like, look, we have a class for you for the kids. And then he'll come, like, some nights, and then after our class and after everything, like, I'll roll with him and we'll mess around. But I'm like, you can't just jump in. There's a process.
Yep.
For one. And then I was like, I want to see that you're going to be dedicated to it. But yeah, he's like always like, can I go? I was like, well, we got a school night. I was like, we're going to leave early, but yeah, that's cool. Come on.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So with my boys, one of the things that I'm really into right now, and I've been reading about and studying about, as a man of faith, is biblical manhood. Have you done much thought about that and how to raise these boys up in this world to have a biblical perspective on manhood?
Yes. That's a really big thing to me, because when I was coming up, I what's the best way to say this? At that time, I'm trying to find the right word to say about this. My examples of, like, the family dynamic wasn't the best.
Yeah.
And it was only because we were in a church, and I got to be in contrast with some of the other families in the church that I got to see, like, okay, this could be done better, or there's better examples of that. So up until probably about middle school, at that point in time, my parents divorced, and it was kind of rough. But I had to really search for myself, ask for who I wanted to be, for one. And then as I got older, into my own revelation, ask for what type of leadership and what type of father that I wanted to be,
Sure.
God willing. And I had different, examples of that. And for me, I feel like especially every man, but everyone has a choice.
Yes.
You get to a point of revelation, you choose on who you're going to be as a person. And for me, I chose who I am as of today and how I represent myself, my character, my integrity.
Yep.
And as I got older, I really wanted to do something with youth and men, especially just being flat honest with men of color, because there's not a lot of avenues and things in that nature. And it's just like, I felt like, I love sports analogies, and I never want to be the man that drops the ball.
Sure.
It's one of those things, like, when you look at like football season starts this evening, right?
Yep.
You got to think it didn't start this evening. Like, that was, OTAs, and it was off preseason, everything. This really started back in spring. Getting ready for this season, and then still going through this season all the way till February. So if somebody's that dedicated into something, leaving their family, leaving their kids, leaving whatever things they do just to make themselves better for a season, for me, if I'm in that moment, like, I get called, I don't want to be the one to drop the ball, because I'm not doing that just for me.
Yep.
I got another 50 blah, blah, blah men that I just let down.
Yeah.
So I never want to be the man that drops the ball. And after, having that kind of approach to it, especially when I became a father, I was like, I definitely want to make sure that you understand that you are kingdom men, that we are, in a sense, warriors of God.
Absolutely.
We are leaders of God, and we can affect change in this world. So a lot of times, like, I'll talk to my boys, and I'll give them big picture perspective, and then I also give them my own personal experiences on things.
Yeah.
But very much so. I got to do a wilderness kind of father-son. We went to Colorado. We were in Silverton, Colorado, and it was just fathers and sons. But although it was in the wilderness, and of course we were off-road and having fun, every night we would come in and have devotion. We would light up a fire, make our dinner for the night, and then we would read, scripture, and then we would all of us would talk, boys, and it gave me, it gave them insight onto who I am and why I do things, and also it gave me understanding of who they are too, and how they see and perceive me.
Yep.
But I think that it is something that's needed in the world, because it's so easy to pick the easy route. It's so easy to go like, I don't want to do that. I don't have to do that. You know, whatever the case may be, or just to not be a person of character and of morals and of biblical sense.
Yeah. And
it's easier to do that than to take that route. But I was like, that's not me.
Yeah.
As you know, like, look,
yeah.
Let's grind it out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So this thing you did in Colorado, was that part of an organization, or is that something that you put together?
It was my friend Chris Boss. So even that was because my son and his son, they're best friends. Oh my God, man! They were like, we would do something, and we'd be done at the end of the day, and they were like, all right, so tomorrow is like, hey man, this is like, enjoy this moment. Like they're already planning for tomorrow, but because they were best friends, and my wife was like, you need to meet Chris, because I seen him, but I never just kind of been in his orbit and talking to him. Yeah. And if you see him, you can't miss him. Yeah. Chris is 6'4", 270, 280. He's big guy. Yeah, he's a mountain of a man. He looks like he's an offensive guard somewhere. And my wife was like, yeah, I think you really like him. I was like, y'all very similar. So we just sat down and we talked one evening, and then actually we went to his parents' house and had a pool party. And we were just talking, and he was like, yeah, you know, we're doing this trip. And I was like, all right, because, you know, I like to camp. And I was like, but I've never camped with the boys, so I don't know how they're going to do with no electronics. Yeah. So, and it was actually an amazing time. But he's with the Heights Church in Cleveland. Okay, I've heard of that. He's over kind of like the men's ministry. And he does a lot of, like, they do a lot of those kind of things, like being outdoors in the wilderness. That's his thing. Like, so it was crazy because I was like, yeah, let's do it, you know. And I'm going through checking my inventory stuff, like bags, you know, got the tent, got our food, you know, we got clothes and boots, and make sure it had, you know, all my survival gear, then plus emergency gear, and make sure it was good. Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, you know, it's just going to be, you know, a quote unquote, maybe like a campsite somewhere, and he just sends me a GPS signal, like, meet us here. Yeah, just dropped a pin. Yeah, and it's like 15 hours away in Colorado. And then the thing that's part of the adventure, huh? Yeah. So, and then once you go around Durango, and then you drop down into Silverton. But once you start to drop down, signal's gone. So we got into Silverton, and at the very back end of the city, no signal. And there's a fork, and it's like nice, normal paved roads, and then there's a miner's road. And then there's a miner's road this way and a miner's road that goes anyway. So my GPS was just flipping out, and it told me to go down. And I'm going down, and thank God, I mean, I've been off-road, and I used to have a Jeep, so I know how to drive. Yeah. And going to 4-low, we're going, and it starts to rain heavy, and we're going by this creek, and the road just starts to get narrow and narrow and narrow and narrow. And I'm kind of pushing off into the side of the cliff, and I'm just like, Lord, there's no way for me to, I'm hoping, one, that this is stable. 2, no one knows that we're down here. And there's no way I can turn around and back up. And then finally, I just kept going. Yeah. And I got to a point where I could turn around, because it was really for ATVs. So went, turned around, came back. And at that time, a guy that kind of, I guess he checks the roads, whatever. And for me, it was a confirmation, because at that time I was like, Lord, you know, send me something that lets me know we're on the right path, that we're where we need to be, because we're in the middle of nowhere. I can't call anybody, and I need to find, because when it was getting dark, I need to set up our camp if we're here. And the guy came, and he's like, yeah, he's like, he's like, this used to be, we kind of cut it off because the guys would come down here and rip up, but you can go back up on the other one, and it takes you. Yeah. So crawled back up and went another 15, 20 miles, and then boom, came into camp, and it was beautiful, man. Just it was amazing just to see God's creation, and then in that, like, you really don't understand, like, how really small we are until you're in that environment. And then every night we would look up at the stars, and it was just brilliant, bright. Like, I can't even describe, like, how brilliant, and because we're also in elevation, just how clear and pristine it was. And it was a moment. So I got to bond with my boys like never before. Yeah. And I really, so he was like, you gonna do it next year? I was like, yeah. Like, sign me up, man. We're good. So that's awesome. Yeah. There's something about it, getting out in the wilderness with your kids. I don't have any girls, so I don't know what it's like with girls, but, you know, I do that with my boys. We hunt a lot, especially this time of the year, right? Going out in the woods and sitting together and just being out together. You know, as men, you know, young men and old men like us, man,
we bond through that type of stuff, that shoulder to shoulder, sitting there in the wilderness and seeing that stuff, and not having the distractions, like you said, of electronics and all the things that we have going on in the world, to get quiet and just go into a place like that and get closer to each other and to get closer with God.
Yeah,
man, more people need to do that, because it's invaluable.
Yeah, and that was my thing. Like, even as a kid, like for me, like I'm grateful my mom would just said, my mom knew I was a free spirit, but she knew I wasn't crazy. So there'd be times she'd just like go, and I would just be out all day, every day, just come in smelling like wilderness. Like, all I needed was my BB gun and something to eat, and I was just out in the thickets, and that was just my thing. And it was a little different because, like I said, my youngest is my caveman. Like, if I say let's go do this, he's like, yeah. And my oldest is like, it's gonna be YouTube, it's gonna be, and it takes a little bit more pulling, but he likes those things, but it just takes and by the end of the trip, like, especially there were some other teenage boys that he got to bond with. Yeah. And by the end of the trip, they're climbing up the mountain, they're throwing rocks. I hear them singing and yelling, just sound like little cave kids, just yeah. And I was like, that's bravo, that's what I wanted. Yeah. There was even one because I think he was about to graduate high school. He was like 17 or 18, and he kind of took Kingston under his wing, and they would go out. They went, cave exploring, and then they went and mined. They had these big pieces of quartz that they had mined out of this cave. Cool. And I was like, it's like, for me, it was like, I just wanted you to have some of these memories in this experience. So I definitely will be doing it again. And then like, I may need a Jeep, because some of the passes I wasn't able to do in my truck. Yeah. I did the moderate ones, but like some of the extreme stuff, I was like, I can't do it. Yeah, yeah. So you have to get you a big truck like mine. You see mine sitting out there? Yeah. But even then, man, like some of the stuff, the breakovers, and it's just like, it was a lot of 3-wheel motion. It was a lot of, so. That's
fun. Yeah. Fun stuff, man. Well, I met with a guy this morning for coffee. Have you heard of this thing called Pure Adventure that's based here in Texas? No. So it's Pure Adventure. It's exactly what you're talking about, but it's a formal men and son retreat. And I think they have a special one for men, dads and daughters too, also once a year. But I was just meeting with this guy this morning. I just kind of happened to meet him at a baptism that we went to. But he is a part of this organization where the kind of key component to this is faith-based, right? Okay. And so they take fathers and sons. You go out into this ranch, and it could be in a different location depending on where you're at, but they take them out there, they show them how to shoot, and they shoot skeet and all that kind of stuff. They do archery together. They have a great big man meal where they have this long table, and they put out like barbecue and turkey legs, and you eat with your hands, and you do all this man stuff. And it's all focused around the end event of fathers and sons, teenage sons, talking to each other. Because what happens is, if you don't have a good relationship, a good base with your son, when they become teenagers, you kind of lose that connection, right? Mm-hmm. And you may not talk as much. And, you got a kid, like I have a kid that's driving now. So those times that I had with him in the car going to school and back from school are kind of gone, right? Mm-hmm. And so you kind of lose that connection. I'm not saying I'm losing that connection with my son, but I'm very intentional with keeping that together. But a lot of dads, they work, they don't have a job where, like I have or you have, where we get to spend more time with our kids. But this gives them an opportunity to bond with their kids doing these activities. And then they come together and they get to speak to each other and tell each other how they feel about, their life and, what they're going through. And it gives them a chance to reconnect. And so it's something I'm going to be doing with my sons this fall. And it's a really cool. I'm actually going to have those guys that started that ministry on the podcast in a couple weeks with Pure Adventure. But it's super cool. It's exactly what you're talking about. Same type of deal. So
well, man, keep me connected. I would like to come out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man. Well, believe it or not, man, we've been doing this for a little over an hour. Can you believe that? It went by fast.
I'm just talking, just hanging out talking.
So to close out, so if anybody has any questions about real estate, or if that house that you had, how would they get in touch with you?
Sure. Let me give you my shameless plug. My name is Jason Bell. My wife is Tiffany Williams Bell. We're both agents with eXp Realty. We have the team, the Bell team, DFW. You can contact me. My cell phone is 940-206-8680. Our email is thebellteam@exprealty.com. And we are a one-stop shop. We do everything. My wife is a loan originator, so she can do your loans. We do renovations for clients. So if you're like, hey, I need to change this over to we've done that before. We work with investors as well, rentals, or quick fix and flips, or if you want to do multifamily, we can do analysis on it. We do everything. And then also we are constantly always looking for properties too. So if it's like, I have a house I need to sell and it's kind of not up to par, give us a call. We buy them as is. We come in, we take care of closing costs. At the end of the day, we just make it an easy transition for whoever that needs us, whatever the case may be.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, man, like we said earlier about that presence, right? You have that jiu-jitsu presence, but you also have that presence of God, man. So I appreciate you. Appreciate your faith. Appreciate the way that you take care of your family and your boys, man. It's awesome. It's inspiring. And man, I'm so glad that we're able to get together and do this podcast together.
Likewise, with you, man. I appreciate you. I see you, and I see and feel your energy as well, man. And that's the thing that I love, because you can be here and you be like, there's something. Like when I met Master Prahanish, I was just like, there's something, man. And I kept digging it, and I was like, I found it. I know what it is.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I also want to end the podcast with one thing. If you don't know Jesus, go get to know him.
Yeah.
Find somebody, ask questions. I mean, it's real easy. He was a guy that came here as God, that came here as a man, that died on the cross for our sins, was raised from the dead. And all you got to do is trust him, put your life in his hands, and you too can be saved and have a relationship with him. It's the most important decision I ever made in my life. And it could be the most important decision that if you're listening and you don't have that relationship, it will be the most important decision you make in your life. So,
Amen.
So take those steps and make that happen. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Jason. I'm sure Jason could tell you all about it too.
Yeah. I'll give you straight talk, real world, everything.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. All right, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
I'll let you
sir.
get back to your day.
Thank you.
All right, man. Old Gorilla out.